guys, welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be starting a project and I thought I'd bring you along. I've been crocheting these granny square blankets for a while now. I really enjoy them and I'm going to be making a new one today with some of these cool colors that I found. I've actually shared with some of my friends how to make this blanket and they've really enjoyed it. So I figured that I would film it and show you how to get started. The first thing you want to do is find the end of your yarn. We're going to wrap it around the needle and then we're going to do one twist and hold on to the little tail on your right hand side, and then your working yarn is going to be on the left side. Next we're going to do 5 single stitches. You wrap the yarn around the back end of the needle, pull it through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, now that we have the 5 single stitches, we're going to connect the 2 ends to make a circle. And the way that you do that is you just wrap the yarn around the back of the needle and stick the needle through the first stitch, and then we're going to pull this yarn through all of the loops to connect it. Alright, so there we have this circle. And we can start building our double stitches. Now we can start with our first row. Anytime that you're creating a new row, you want to go ahead and turn the blanket around and bring the yarn around the needle. And we're going to do 3 single stitches here. 1, 2, 3. So that just brings us to a new row level. Now we're going to wrap the yarn around the needle and we're going to go directly in the middle of the hole and pull that through so that there are 3 loops around the needle. Then we're going to go ahead and wrap another one around and pull it through the first 2 loops, wrap again and pull it through the last 2 loops. So that's a double stitch, and now we have 2 stitches here. Then we're going to go ahead and do another double stitch to make it 3. So we're going to wrap it around, pull it through the first 2, and then pull it through the second 2. So now we have our first little chunk here, which is 3 stitches, and then we need to work on creating our corners. So in order to create the corner, we're going to do 2 single stitches. So wrap around the back of the needle, 1, 2, and then we're going to start with our other cluster of double stitches. We're going to wrap around the needle and go directly into the hole and pull that through so that there are 3 loops again on the needle. We're going to wrap it around, pull it through the first 2, and then wrap it around and pull it through the last 2. There's our first double stitch for that cluster, and now we're going to do it again. And one more. Wrap around, through the hole, pull it through, wrap around, pull through the first 2, then pull through the second 2. So now you can see that we have this other cluster of 3 double stitches, and we're going to create our next corner. So remember, for the corners we need to use single stitches. We're going to do 2 single stitches, 1, 2, and then start our other cluster of double stitches. So again, wrap around through the hole, pull it through to make 3 around your needle, wrap it around, pull through the first 2, wrap it around, pull through the second 2. And then we're going to do 2 more of those. Perfect. See how the square shape is coming together? Now we're gonna do 2 single stitches for the corner again. 1, 2, and start our next cluster of double stitches here. All right, so wrap around again to do the double stitches. Just always remember that when you're wrapping around, you're doing behind the needle, through the hole, and then you're pulling that yarn through to get the 3 stitches. Then you're gonna go through the first 2 loops, wrap around, go through the next 2 loops. And we have one more here. Wrap around through the hole, wrap around through the first 2 loops, wrap around through the last 2. All right, and then we need to make this corner with the 2 single stitches. 1, 2. And then what we're gonna do now is go ahead and connect this row by wrapping around and sticking through the first stitch there. And we're just gonna pull all the way through to connect that corner. So now you can see that we have 4 corners, and we can start off with the next row. So we left off in the corner, and we can start our new row now. Anytime we start a new row, we're gonna flip the blanket over and pull the yarn to the left. We're gonna wrap around, and then we're gonna create 3 single stitches. And then we're gonna do 2 double stitches here. And wrap around, go through the corner hole, pull through so that we have our 3 loops, wrap around, pull through the first 2, and then wrap around and pull through the last 2. We're gonna do that again because we need a cluster of 3. So wrap around through the hole, wrap around through the first 2, wrap around through the second 2. Now we have 3 clusters here, and we're gonna make another corner for this row. So when we're building our corners, we're doing 2 single stitches. 1, 2, and then we're gonna start with another cluster in the same hole though, because we're creating another corner. Okay, there's our first one. Then we're gonna do our second one. And as you can see, since the blanket is getting bigger and we're making new rows, each corner now will have a cluster of 3 double stitches, 2 single stitches, and then another cluster of 3 in the same hole. Now we're gonna do a single stitch to move on, and then we're gonna wrap around through the corner hole, pull through the first 2, pull through the last 2, just like we've been doing before with our double stitches, and we're gonna make a cluster of 3 in this corner hole. All right, then we're gonna do our 2 single stitches for the corner, 1, 2, and the next cluster of 3. One more. There's another corner. Continuing on, we're gonna do our single stitch to get to the next corner and just continue on with these double stitches. Now we're doing our 2 single stitches to make the corner and adding our other cluster of 3 double stitches. As you can see, it's all very repetitive. And in this first row that we're doing, it's basically all corners. As the blanket gets bigger, of course, we have other clusters that aren't corners, but right now it's just all the corners here. So we have a cluster of 3 double stitches, the 2 single stitches, and another cluster of 3. All right, this is the final corner for this row. So we're gonna do one more single stitch and move on to this final corner. Make sure you have enough yarn. So we have 1, 2, we need 3. The single stitch for the corner, 1, 2, and then another cluster of 3 double stitches. All right, that was our last corner. Now we're gonna do a single stitch and we are gonna connect the row by wrapping around, going into this first stitch and just pulling the yarn all the way through all the loops. Perfect, so there we have the start of our square. And then we can start on a new row. Here I am again starting a new row. We're just gonna flip the blanket, pull the yarn to the left, raise it up by doing the 3 single stitches and the 2 double stitches to make your cluster of 3 in this hole. So now as you see, as the blanket gets bigger, you're gonna have more of these holes to fill in that will have just the 3 clusters of the double stitch. And then it will take longer and longer to get to the corner. So now we're gonna do a single stitch and we're back in the corner hole to do our cluster of 3. And our 2 single stitches to create the corner, and our next cluster of 3 in that same corner hole. Okay, then our single stitch to get to this next hole. And since this one is not a corner, it's just going to be the 3 double stitches. And then the next single stitch to get to the other corner. Okay, so as you can see, it all becomes very repetitive, like I said. So we're just gonna continue on doing the corners with the 3 double stitches, 2 single stitches, and then 3 again in the same corner hole, and just continue on for the whole blanket basically. So as I mentioned before, I'm gonna be starting a new blanket, and I was just doing the white one to show you how to start because you can see the white a lot better. This fluffy yarn is kind of hard to see on camera, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get this blanket started, and I'm not really gonna go over all the details because I already did.